Mhm. All right, so I hopefully fixed the stream. So when people are in, let me know how the stream sounds this time. All right, hey Zach. Oh, great, Zach. It's great to have you here on this stream too, because I think this is a great opportunity for you to submit a bunch of copies for the coffee of the month. We didn't have too many holiday themed suggestions, so if you actually do want to contribute a bunch of those copies, and I imagine that they'll actually be put on our nominations list. So it's actually great to have you. But let me know if this actually fixed the audio issues because we were having some audio issues, which is why we needed to reset the stream. So let me know how things sound. Holiday coffee. Yes, Zach. Holiday coffees this year. Hopefully so. Much better. Okay, perfect. And sorry for the technical difficulties. As mentioned, it's actually the first time I think we've had some technical difficulties. Jonathan's sound is not great. So I'm still kind of wondering how we might be able to fix the sound. We haven't done anything with our setup different from the past. I'm wondering if maybe I should. I was wondering if we were going to get a new mic for streams in the future, but it's not great, but it's better. Let me try my phone. This time I'm not going to stick this radio. See, I'm not this correctly. How does it sound now? Is this any better? I'm hoping it's not my internet service because my service has been a little weird this morning too. Same? Mhm. I purposely went with the highest speed service I could get for this in hopes that I wouldn't have issues with streaming. Right. Is this any better by chance? I'm guessing probably not. I don't see. It sounds it's fine. Okay. I guess we'll roll with it. Sorry for the issues with the sound. I'm wondering if maybe in the future we can get a mic to work with it. I'm surprised we haven't done anything different from previous streams, but yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So what we're going to be doing this month is we're going to be picking out, or in this stream is going to be picking out our December Coffee of the Month nominees. So as always, we're going to go through our suggestions. If you guys have any suggestions, feel free to submit them and we'll take a look at them. But for right now, we're going to go ahead and get started with the Instagram suggestions that we did. So let me pull those up. Real quick. And the first one I got was from Kevin, and Kevin said Pink Bone coffees. So we'll take a look at the Pink Bone coffees. And I know Say released a handful of them recently. So we'll take a look at Say. And if anybody has any good ideas for Pink Bone coffees, please let me know and we will take a look at those. Let's see. And let me pull up the comments too, just to make sure I don't miss anything. Great. So let's take a look at what Say's currently offering. And I know a lot of people usually like us to have some sort of Say coffee, but as I've said in the past, I don't like having them as part of our coffee of the month nomination, mostly because they always seem to win those. But we do have at least one Pink Bone coffee right here. And it looks like it's from the Second Harvest. For anybody that's curious, of course, I did pick up this coffee as it is a macaroni from Say. So did you say well, yes, Greg, we did say those coffees, as that was a good suggestion we got from Kevin. So if you guys have any good ideas for some Pink Bone coffees, it would be really surprising if that's the theme we went with. But if we're able to work Pink Bone coffees into one of the themes, which is holiday themed, and some other ideas we'll have in the future, that would be ideal. Uh, Doc has one? Okay, great. We'll take a look at Doc. And this one of these pronounce the name. So we got Pink, and then we got Blizzard. I think it's something. But yes, we'll take a quick look at the one from Doc. But this one right here, we have the Wilson album from Say, and it's such a wild card picking out these paper bones from Say because some I've heard are great, some are just okay, but it's pretty much a shot in the dark with them. And as mentioned, this is a coffee that we picked up. But Ondo Coffee has them from Traffic with holiday packaging. That's actually a really good suggestion, Alan. So we'll take a look at that when we get an opportunity. Let's take a look at the I don't think Doc has actually ever won any of our Coffee of the Month books. I think that they've been featured in a couple of them. But let's see what we have over here. Pink Balloon, which is a Cooper Bone, and yeah, it looks pretty classic. A lot of what you'd expect. I think one thing that was worth looking at while we were on their page was to see if they still had the cinnamon coffee. Was it the cinnamon coffee? It doesn't look like they still have it, unfortunately. Or if it's under a different offering. No, it looks like they sold out of that coffee. I was actually very curious about that coffee. Greg says, I'm having a hard time with the audio. I might have to bail. Sorry about that, Greg. If anybody has any ideas for the audio, because I'm still not entirely sure why we're having such problems, given that we've never had these sort of audio issues in the past with our previous streams. And we'll need to probably run some tests after the stream too to figure that out. But yeah, I don't see the cinnamon roll coffee on here anymore. I do want to purchase that, so I'm actually going to be looking at some coffee shops today to see if I might be able to find that coffee. Mostly because I do think it would be a pretty fun one to review. But let's take a look at the coffee that Alan has sent us. And we did recently purchase from Ondo as well. And we'll take a look at their coffees here. So, okay, let's see here. We can says I'm very interested in this. You know what's a Bank? Is it a coffee roaster? I'm just trying to figure out what I'm missing in this one. So Bank's a coffee roaster. Let me know when I take a quick look at that one. But yeah, the coffee we were looking at was from Alan, and it was the coffee. So let's see if we can make that more quick. I went on with the holiday packaging. We've never featured a coffee from Traffic before, so that might also be an option for a couple of reasons, because there's another suggestion that we did have for holiday themed coffees. So this right here actually looks like it would be an option. Let's see what it is. So this one, it is actually funny enough a paper bone with cinnamon rolls and fruit cake. I can't imagine that this is a coffee that I would necessarily enjoy, but it would be really good for the theme actually. 20 grams roast free, think up Mattel paper bag. Yeah, let's definitely take a look at that one as well. But this right here is definitely an option for our coffee of the month theme, especially if we are going with a holiday theme. I wonder. I've only ever had single cups of coffee from Traffic at the Revolver up in Vancouver. I've never had a full bag of their coffee before. So let's take a look at the 20 grams. Oh, it's a Singaporean one. I was thinking of the German one first. Let's take a look at coffees that they do have now. And here we have some of the Oblivion coffees, and there's nothing but Semi-wash sounds very much like a Pinker Bone coffee. I don't have any familiarity with this coffee roaster. I wonder if Starbucks is going to be bringing them in anytime soon. Alan says that the Ngise is tasting not too shabby, and I mentioned that before we shut off the other stream that I'm going to be picking up our own Ngise Nare from who is it? Okay, yeah, that's it. I'm going to be picking that up here in a couple of days, but for right now, we are actually drinking the um Tabai the Dioxidator from September. So if we are going with that pink bone theme, we do have a couple of options right now. So we'll keep that in mind. I feel like maybe focusing on specific varietals is a really good theme and idea for the future. Maybe revisiting that in January because I think that we might have some more better options. But let's go ahead and move on for right now. So Skibi695 says the Euphoria coffee roaster from Johannesburg, South Africa. And we've never featured any South African coffee roaster before. So let's take a look at that one. And just out of curiosity, I assume that the audio is still pretty bad, isn't it? Trying to find the which is this one? It is still bad. If I'm wondering then if maybe we might need to cancel this stream, unfortunately, if I can't fix the issues. I haven't even felt the need to check the audio, mostly because it has been working just fine in the other streams. Let me think through this. Okay, is the audio by chance any better now? Any better? Might be an issue with the audio interface. As mentioned, I really want to hear how the audio sounds, but not really better. Hey, Nicholas, I hope you're having a great day as well. My day was going pretty well, except for the fact that I could not get this audio to work the way it should. Not just the audio, video is choppy for me. If it's the audio and the video, then I imagine that it's probably my service, which is unfortunate because I don't think that there's anything I could fix with that. Both things are having issues, and I think my audio and video are just running a little slow because of my internet service, which is still weird to me, given that I do have some pretty decent internet service here, specifically so I can stream. I can hear you, no problem. Video is fine for me. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. I guess we'll probably continue them and see if we can figure out. I'm not sure about. Audio is better, video is fine. Thank you, Ian. Okay, it sounds like things are starting to improve at least a little bit. I'm not entirely sure what's going on here, but we will continue with this. And I'm not entirely sure if this is the euphoria that Skibi is talking about, but I will actually reach out to them afterwards and see if I can figure out which coffee roaster it was, because sometimes when it comes to coffee roasters that I don't have any familiarity with, I'm not to my website, as was funny enough the case with MinMax originally. Right. Let's go ahead and move on. And we got an interesting suggestion from Cook Campbell, and they said they focus on any processed or yeast inoculated coffees. And while we're on that subject, actually, it did remind me that I wanted to say at the very beginning, if you guys have any holiday themed coffees that you would suggest, feel free to suggest them because that seems the most likely theme we're going to be going with this month. And we do have some suggestions for that as well. But this was an interesting one because Cook also suggested some coffees from Prodigal. So we're actually going to take a very quick look at what Prodigal is currently offering. Does anyone know if the Indise is the same as the Bots Gummy Shark one? I don't think it is. Are they both anaerobic natural? I can't remember if the Regalia one was, but I remember that Bot's version of it was the anaerobic. And it's been a bit since we've actually reviewed anything from Prodigal, and I do wonder how they would do in a coffee of the month bowl, because I don't think we've ever featured them before. They do have a lot of interesting sounding coffees a lot of the time. I remember I took a look at their Asachi and opted not to purchase it, but sell 28 Colombian coffee that's washed. I mean, if they did win a coffee of the month poll, it would be very easy to find some coffees that we'd want to add from them as well. They do have some pink and bone coffees if that was a theme that we wanted to go with. But once again, I think that that's probably something better for the future. Regalia just as natural. I think that they're different. I imagine they're probably a little different too. I don't like the way that the better covers the coffee is if you scroll up the website. But I don't see anything here that's necessarily holiday themed, so I'm not entirely sure that we can go with them this month unless we were to go with that pink bone theme, and that would mostly be if that's the theme that um, was most visible. Alan says, Prodigal 2 controversial to win copy of the month. I do wonder about that. I wonder how many of our followers on Instagram or on YouTube actually are fans of Prodigal, because if it's a big enough percentage, then I could see it potentially winning a 4 copy poll, but I think it would be maybe a little tricky if it was off. Okay. Ian says Tim Wendelboe has two very nice Christmas copies of Kenyan and a very good Pacamara. And that is one of these suggestions that we did get. So why don't we take a very quick look at that? We might be jumping the gun a little bit, but I imagine that Tim Wendelboe was probably going to be one of the copies. And Olympia has a holiday coffee. It's unfortunately a blend, though. I remember at this time, a lot of coffee roasters would have at least some sort of holiday blend that we could take a look at. So it's nice that Tim Wendelboe is offering two different ones because that gives us options when it comes to the Christmas coffee. Let's see what we have here. So we have the Los Pirineos, and I think we've reviewed this coffee in the past, which is my only holdup on it. But the Kenya, we've actually reviewed both of these coffees. You mentioned in the past some of the issues we have with Tim Wendelboe is that the have these connections with the farms, the producers, so we see a lot of the same coffees year after year. And that's not an issue if you're just drinking the coffees because you enjoy them. It's an issue for us because we've never reviewed them. That being said, I think that we should probably still put at least one of these coffees on there. I think it's preference. Would you guys prefer the Kenyan coffee or would you prefer that Pacamaro? I think personally, I'm probably leaning towards the Kenya. I've heard a lot of good things about that. Tim Wendelboe. Yeah, that's been a lot of saying recently. People have said that Tim Wendelboe's gone a bit more developed than they had in the past, but we'll see. We haven't had them in a while. Same thing with Apollon's Gold. People have said that Apollon's Gold has become a lot more developed, but we have an Apollon's Gold order coming in. So hopefully we will be able to find out for ourselves whether or not that's I think Kenya. Unless somebody says otherwise, I'm probably leaning towards that Kenya. Ian said that he really likes the Pacamara, so maybe if some more people are interested in that Pacamara, we haven't reviewed too many El Salvadorian cookies in general this year, so it might be better for that reason. We'll take a quick look at the Olympia coffee from Nicholas as well. I really should have grabbed my pen this time around to write down the notes because we have these ones as well as the one from now. Yeah, holiday blends. I imagine we'll see a lot of holiday blends from a lot of different coffee roasters. So maybe even from coffee roasters that we just haven't featured in the past. The regalia is just so collecting stuff. And here's the thing about that regalia is they've had it for a bit. So I wonder if maybe the grain is ever so slightly stale at this point. I don't want to make an assumption, but it's entirely possible. I remember when they first released it, I actually wanted to purchase it and try it, but we were working on too many things at the time. So we'll see. Hopefully that's not necessarily the case for us, but you never know. I mean, it was a pretty good price for that coffee. And on the IBBZ says Ritual Coffee. And let's take a look at Ritual. We've never featured Ritual on this channel before. I've been to their coffee shops, several of them in the Bay Area in the past. So we'll see what they're currently offering for coffees. And they do have some holiday edition sets. Right here is an interesting one. We have the SL2800 coffee. Nothing specifically holiday theme that I can see in terms of a specific coffee. It's an interesting coffee though. I feel like if we were going with something different from the theme, I would actually want to put that on there. If I'm being honest, I think maybe we have one or two coffees as of this moment, which are the one from Traffic and then the one from Tim Wendelbo, but we'll obviously narrow that down and add more things. For instance, Passenger Holiday Coffee is a walk paper bone. That actually fits with everything that we're looking for the most part. It's a paper bone coffee, it's a holiday coffee, and it does come from a coffee roaster, though, that did win our most recent coffee awards. Greg also says, bought from Regalia one time. Matt, we only have one Regalia review on this channel, which is unfortunate because I would love to review more Regalia coffees in the future since we want to put them on our next American Canadian coffee roasters list. That's the only coffee I've ever had from Regalia, so getting that in Gise Mara is going to be really beneficial for this too list. Let's take a look at the coffee. The only reason we can't put Passenger on our coffee of the month poll is because they did just win the last coffee of the month poll. But I'm curious about this coffee. It sounds pretty straightforward. It was a Wilson Velvet. It's the same coffee we were looking at earlier, actually. That same Wilson Museum. Did Jacob throw in the Finca Patel in the Regalia order too? He says he didn't. He says he was so backlogged on coffee that he only wanted to pick out the one coffee from Regalia, even if it meant that we paid a little bit extra for shipping, which I have absolutely no problem with. But it would have been at least interesting to try out a sample of that Finca Patel. And what we do with Kirk on stream, let me actually pull up Kirk's Coffee Roastery because Kirk did reach out to us yesterday. We've had a lot of coffee roasters reaching out to us recently and suggesting coffee roasted brand. So let me take a very quick look at that. It is called Maya Coffee. And it's a coffee roaster that I have not heard of up to this point. And I took a very quick look at their website yesterday. They do have a holiday blend as well for right now. And the main thing I'm looking for is to see how things change within the next month. We're obviously very backlogged between copies we already have and our advent calendar, but I just wanted to take a quick look at the website on stream since we didn't have too much of a look at it recently. We just took a very quick glance at the system of copies that are currently now. And if Victoria is still on stream, then yeah, we have a La Victoria coffee. It looks like a lot of Colombian coffees currently as of right now. This one we got several metals. And Maya does roast on the Probat, and they say that they have a lighter profile to the coffees as well, a lighter and medium profile. So when we do visit them, I'm looking forward to it, given that we have so few drum roasters these days that we get an opportunity to review them. Alan says, I'm waiting for the Taco Bell review. Which Taco Bell review? If we're doing, we already did the decades menu in Brian's Discord. And if they have something new that they're releasing, then I would definitely love to review that as I am definitely a massive Taco Bell fan. All right. And Nicholas says S&W has an interesting looking blend. Now, S&W, I think, was another coffee roaster that won one of the Coffee of the Month polls. So I don't know if we can think about it. I assume it's going to be in the medium blends. I got to review the chicken nuggets that came out later this month. Definitely, I'm very curious to find out how the chicken nuggets taste. Don't see it in the roaster blend, so now I'm wondering if it's in the lighter category. I saw so many people purchase S&W's decaf, and I'm very curious as how a lot of people are going to feel about that. This is definitely one of my favorite coffees. And it's a very interesting process coffee. And we got a lot of that classic Colombian processing to it. So very curious to see how that one might turn out. Very expensive. Spiked Festive Punch. I could certainly see it. Ian says Bell Lane have Rubber Bone from Peru, Bone from Peru as their festive brew. That would actually be a really good one now. Feature. Bell Lane shipping to the United States can be a little pricey. However, I think it's something that we could explore given that we did feature them pretty highly earlier this year, and they're a roaster that I do like. So this is actually a great one. I actually really appreciate the suggestion. This one should go as one of our nominees as well, given that the Cookout roaster is one I really like. So we have this, we have the Tim Wendelbo one, and we have the Fleetwood coffee. So we're off to a pretty decent start already. I have three coffees that I would think would be pretty good for that. Karina says that sweet one offer holiday blends. And they do actually. We have not featured Sweet Bloom in many of our coffee of the month bowls either, so we could do Sweet Bloom. I assume that Starbucks also probably has a holiday coffee, so they have winter bloom. I know Sweet Bloom in the past has had some sort of holiday coffee or some sort of holiday blend, but let's see if they do this year. Hometown decaf? I guess not. I have not taken a look at Sweet Bloom's website in quite a while. Something interesting that they started going with more processed coffees too, given that for the majority of the time I was living right by Sweet Bloom, their coffees were almost all wash processed coffees. Yeah, unfortunately, no holiday. Nicholas says it's a lighter roast. Yeah, but that's what I saw. And Alan says ginger co-ferments. That sounds a little miserable, given that I actually don't like ginger whatsoever. When I get ginger in my sushi, I actually skip it altogether. So I'm not a big fan of ginger. And anytime we have it in coffee, I'm also not a big fan of it. I think that that would make for good content. People can watch us struggle through some ginger co-fermented food. Let's take a look at what Mama says. Onyx is another coffee roaster I keep saying that we need to go back and revisit. The problem is I am yet to actually do so. And they do have the holiday blends. They're family, and I think that they have a premise usually. So which one are we preferring? Are we preferring the quote unquote moderate or the expressive dark? Because I'm sure a lot of people would love for us to review a darker roasted coffee. So that's an option. I love the Peanuts Onyx collaboration branding. I think it's really cool. So I wish that maybe it was coffee I was more interested in, but it's really cute. Found coffee who made Growing Coffee from Guatemala as their Christmas filter. Would actually, what would make for a pretty fun thing is to do a Irish coffee roaster then, like Elaine calendar, and see if we could figure out another one to put in that holiday theme because it'd just be interesting and unique to do Irish coffee roasters this way. I do know that we should be able to acquire some calendar copies here soon. So we have an espresso roast. Do we have a filter roast of it? With the in Guatemala? Yeah. Yeah. We could definitely have this one on there. So we'll do this one, the Bell Lane, the traffic coffee. So definitely, and the Tim Wendelbo. So we have at least four right now. So anything else we could add to maybe a runoff and kind of narrow down the list, but we have at least four coffees as of this moment. I love the Peanuts collab, but it's a hefty price for what it is. I didn't even take a look at this, but Onyx recently has become a little bit more expensive. I was thinking to myself, I saw some old photos from like 2016 when Onyx had their, I don't want to say original bags because they changed the bag design one time before that, but just how much I really appreciated not only how relatively cheap their coffee was, but how much I enjoyed their brands. So it's, it's unfortunate the direction they've gone, but if it works for them, same thing with Manhattan. If it works for them, then good for them. I'm just based on the decisions. Decisions. Whoever just gets the bootleg Peanuts clap from Travis. I really like the packaging in that too. I'm a big fan of peanuts. I feel like a lot of people love savory peanuts. And the one Calvin coffee you had in the past was actually really tasty. Calvin is really good. And there are so many Calvin coffees that I've had in the past, and they're extremely consistent. I've had a former roaster from a big named roastery tell me just how much they know and appreciate Calendar's coffees. So Calendar is great. For anybody that's never had Calendar, I think you'll have some opportunities in the future to try them out. 'Cause I do think that there should be at least a subscription service or two that does feature their coffee. So definitely keep an eye out for them. Let's go back to the suggestions that we did. And Absent Nathan says roasters if you've never featured before. And that's why I was looking at Ritual so closely. And Tropic is perfect for that because we've never featured Tropic before. So if we could find a lot of coffee roasters that we've never had on this channel in any capacity, that would be ideal. And while we're on that topic, the coffee roaster that is on our suggestion recommendation list is still UE. So if UE by chance happens to have a holiday themed coffee, then yeah, they do. Looks like we have a festive hullabaloo, and then this whiskey barrel aged coffee. So I think we want to toss UE on them, given that they have been on our suggestion recommendation list. We've never featured them before. This sounds very much like a holiday themed coffee, so that would be very cool. So Alan says, would love to try more, but don't want to pay the shipping costs. And I'm very fortunate. There's a multi roaster that loves calendar, so they carry calendar here a lot. And in addition to that, as I kind of mentioned, I think that there should be a subscription service bringing in a calendar soon. So you might get some opportunities to do so. I don't think that there would be enough consistent in calendar food, but I kind of agree to that because the coffees are in the slightly more safe side of things as opposed to like really intense and exciting a lot of the time. But they do turn out really nice for people that like wash processed coffees. They are great. September has a candy cane bar out in and out of stock this week. That is another one that I was thinking about and I think would be really good for this. So I actually think we can see this maybe on our no, absolutely done. Starting the September copy is also that gives us 6 copies right now. So we will put that on there. I'm going to reach out to Kyle. I was actually talking with Kyle this morning to see if maybe they're going to bring that copy back. And if not, maybe there's a way for us to get it because that would be another really good one for the complete the month. Honda will be serving September candy cane, so I don't have to buy a big bag. I imagine it's probably going to be just a single cup of coffee as opposed to but I'll keep that in mind. So that's another thing that we could put on there is this UE coffee, and that does give us some options for coffee roasters that we've never featured before. So the coffee says the Colombian Christmas one. So that was suggested from the stage. And I think it's this one. Maybe not, because if it's a Colombian Christmas blend, then this is exclusively looks like the Costa Rican coffees. Coffee. And for anybody that doesn't know, you as a business or a restaurant can actually suggest a coffee or a coffee in your own coffee roaster for us to look at. I mean, we'll look at those. And we've had plenty of coffee roasters do that in the past. So it doesn't necessarily always guarantee that we will feature them, but you're more than welcome to, and we'll at least take a look at them. So I'm still not really sure that this is the one. Well, it's the same, but I'm not saying. I'm wondering if they're just saying a Colombian business plan in general, because I'm not seeing one on their website right now as it is. Let's go ahead and move on. And P96 says to Kizi Gesha from Coffee Collective. Was that coffee already sold out? Because we did get an offer from somebody to go in on a purchase for it. It's actually the Coffee Collective. And we have reviewed in the past. That's the only reason why I didn't take them up on that offer. I really liked Kizzy. A lot of people like it in general. It's one of, if not Calgary's most popular coffee of the year. I'm not saying it. It's on their website. Max 10 bags per customer. So then we have had an offer to pick up this coffee. This is a beautiful coffee. Is anybody that's ever had Kizzy before? It is year after year a coffee that everybody seems to enjoy. And people are trying to find it for more coffee roasters as well because of just how enjoyable it is. I wanted to purchase it from Leaves when I had an opportunity, but unfortunately didn't get that coffee. So I would like to review it maybe from a different coffee roaster. It seems like a lot of people don't like the direction that Coffee Collective is trending, and we will find out for ourselves in our Coffee Box Advent calendar since there are some Coffee Collective coffees in the Advent calendar. So I'm extremely curious to see which coffees are going to be featured and how they're going to perform. This coffee did finish in our top 10 coffees of the year list the year that we did feature. So I'm going to continue to absolutely recall how great this coffee is. I wish more of our roasters had their hands on the keys the same. I even even not necessarily the most prominent coffee roasters, some smaller coffee roasters, if they were able to get it, I would love to try it from them. I think I heard that Aviary was trying to get their hands on some of it, which would have been really fun. I do want to go back and review another coffee from Aviary. I just wish it was easier to get my hands on it. And then let's see. Gideon says Mountains release Navi Night, and that's actually an option. So let's take a look at it. And for anybody that didn't see our recent Manhattan review, the vast majority of the comments we got on that review were people saying that they don't like the direction that Manhattan has gone with the coffees. And I've mostly kept a lot of my thoughts on it until we get to our coffee roaster tier list, which is actually coming up pretty soon. But once we do, I think we'll talk about it in a little bit greater detail. I think it's maybe a little bit more complex than simply them changing from the Probat to the Typhoon, because that blind taste test video we did with the Probat and the Typhoon, it was really genuine in that the copies were, for the most part, pretty close. Probat did win. The majority of the copies I did prefer on the Probat without knowing. That being said, I think that since that moment, they've actually done a little bit of a shift on the way that they wanted to profile those coffees. So at the time, I think that they were still trying to get those coffees as similar to their Probat versions of those coffees as possible, and that's why they did turn out the way that they did. So yes, Feliz Navidad. We can make this a seventh coffee. I'm curious to see how it would perform. A lot of the reason I'm interested in this coffee is because it's an interesting seven coffee in general. So it is an SL28. It is a natural. It is a Tanzanian coffee. So all of these things are unique in a lot of ways. So we'll go ahead and add this on there. Manhattan historically hasn't performed very well in our recent coffee of the month polls. So we will see how that turns out. Peter Kick says rising coffee and Alan says he would like to keys with Salah before it even uploaded on the site. That's fine. I don't know if I have any favors with Christopher, but I've spoken to Christopher in the past. I could see if maybe there's any way that he would be willing to do that if he were able to get his hands on that copy. That would be pretty fun. Ian says blind monkey coffee are increasingly popular coffee shop in Ireland, particularly if you enjoy more funky coffees. I'm hoping and assuming then that they're also roasted. Roastery. I know a lot of coffee roasters do like to. All right, we got some very interesting coffees. So these are going to be Pepe and Jose coffees. I know a lot of coffee roasters like to cut their teeth on these slightly more processed coffees. I think it's much more exciting for their clients to try something that's very wild and out there. But this is interesting. Do you have any idea about the profile of this coffee roaster, Ian? I'm really curious to know if they're a little bit lighter because Irish coffee roasters in general tends to be a little bit more developed. I'm pretty curious about this in general. Which ones do we have? Wave Natural. And I know from listening to Brian's recent stream with Jose that the Kishu only do raw processed microbial coffees if I'm not correct. Wow, it's interesting. Said I never got to try the OG Manhattan Letty. All right, Alan. I'll actually I don't want to make you this deal, but I was going to say that I still have some of it in the freezer, like first run OG Manhattan, and I feel like I would be potentially willing to make it for you one day, but I don't know if I ever want to with it. It's one of those things where it's so limited. I don't know if anybody else has any of the original Manhattan Run of Letty and the Probat all the way back from what would that be, 2020? I think maybe, yeah, late 2020, early 2021. I don't know if I ever want to with that thing. I think I have one or maybe two doses of it, but I just wanted to promise making it. That would be a huge treat. Let's go back to what Thief and Kicks is. Thief and Kicks Rising Coffee. And Rising Coffee is another coffee roaster that I've actually been in conversation with recently. So let me explain the concept of rising coffee to people real quick because I do like the concept behind it. It is run by a 16-year-old. So a 16-year-old is roasting their own coffee, which is pretty interesting to me. I think they're the youngest roaster I've ever heard of or definitely talked to. So that in itself was interesting to me. And I did take a look at the coffees that Rising Coffee is currently offering, and I think that at some point we are going to visit them. So maybe that's curious. This is a coffee roaster I wanted to just highlight real quick. The kind of concerns I have right now is that we have a Wilton Benitez and then we have an Ethiopian coffee. We've reviewed a number of Wilton Benitez, and I don't want to review too many more Ethiopian coffees as of this moment. Even then, this Wilton Benitez has continuously come highly suggested to us. So I'm probably going to try to purchase this coffee before it sells out. So this is one that we'll probably be reviewing in the future, and I've been in conversations with Rising Coffee specifically to potentially get this coffee at some point in the future. And then Galia, we'll take a quick look at the game. I think we have one more slot left though for a coffee that's within the holiday theme. And I think actually, now that I mention it, Zeke did suggest the fruit cake coffee from, I want to say, what's the name of the coffee street? I think it's Tochi. I think Tochi has the fruit. So I'll take a quick look at that. No, they still have a decent. No, I thought it was still on the website. They haven't sold them. That was going to be. It was going to be pretty funny if they still had them decent right available for purchase. Okay, let's see what we got. Anne says they are on the lighter side of things. And Alan says, "What's the starting bid for that Letty Bermudez?" Oh man, I don't even know. I do wonder if I put that up for auction on like Discord or something like that, what the actual price would go, because I continuously hear a lot of people say the same thing about Manhattan as I do. If they were able to try original Manhattan or go back and have some of Manhattan's original offerings, and that's they miss it. So, and then would you? I think this is the one that's been very frequent. In fact, did show up and he did actually suggest something for the first time. Somebody that always says that they're going to, they actually did it. Yeah, we have fruitcake. So that gives us 8. And this does not sound like anything I would enjoy whatsoever. We have a natural, what's a natural consistency again for food, but here we go. That's 8. So anything else that you guys have, we might be able to add on, but we have at least 8. So we'll do a runoff poll today at some point, and then tomorrow we will release a poll for the 2 winners from both of those polls, and that will help us decide our holiday theme of the month. I do think, yeah, that's the end of our suggestions on Instagram as well. So any other suggestions from you guys, we'll take a quick look at, but otherwise I will stick around for another couple minutes or so, answer any sort of questions, or just look at anything you guys want us to look at. Mika Huber says, "How do 2020 Letty and 2024 Letty compare?" I have heard from shop owners about Letty Bermudez that it's basically 2 different coffees, that they actually don't taste the same whatsoever. I've heard from people as well that Hydrangea's version of Letty Bermudez is the closest to Manhattan's original version, which I could probably see, especially since Hydrangean has gone a little lighter on their profiles since their inception. So I would say that the original Letty Bermudez from Manhattan was the epitome of just basically that peach gummy feel. I can't really express or describe just how prominent and defined that flavor profile was, to the point where I think they have other notes on there, but I'm like, this coffee essentially tastes exclusively like I actually said the Albanese peach gummies. They describe it as the Haribo peach gummy rings, but regardless, it is maybe the most defined and pronounced flavor profile of any coffee we've ever reviewed at this point, even years later. The 2024, it sounds like is quite the same. It sounds like it's a little bit more, actually, it's not quite as defined. And I've heard a lot of difficulty brewing that coffee, as it doesn't have that same sort of prominent, vibrant, artificial peach flavor to it. I'm wanting to try Coffee Circular, but overwhelmed by their website. Can you recommend a few of their offerings for beginner? My tastes are similar to yours, I believe. Absolutely, Nicholas. And they've changed their website. And while a lot of people probably feel like their website is better, I got so used to their website for so many years that looking at their website now is actually a little bit more tricky for me than it once was. But yeah, let's take a very quick look and see what they are offering right now. And if your preferences are similar to mine, then I would definitely say go with their washed offerings. I do find that their standard washed offerings are some of the best out there still. Let me see how much it is for 250 grams. Here's the thing is their offerings are also not necessarily that expensive. Like here we have a Tio Conejo Gesha wash processed $23 for a full bag, or 23 euros. So about 25, $26. So this is what I would suggest just taking a quick run through. This Pacamara, I'm very curious about, and if we were doing any Cocoa Galore copies, I would definitely put this one out. But we reviewed so many Cocoa Galore copies this year that I've kind of stayed away for the time being, unless they offer something extremely exciting. Let's see, the Gollum Morales copies, I think we reviewed at least one of these. I know we reviewed this. I would probably suggest at least one of their natural processed. These geshes are going to be pretty expensive. So if you're willing to pay a little bit more, then I think that these Momo geshes would probably be pretty nice. I'll probably go with the natural. But a lot of people really love Oregano. So this is another one that I would suggest probably over the Campesa. I'm wondering if this one's also, yeah, 20 euros. So not bad. So there we have a handful of water processed coffees that I think would be pretty nice. The Kenyan coffees are always very out there. The washed are obviously going to be your safer bets, but the more processed ones can get pretty interesting. If they have Ruby Batian, if Ruby Batian ever returns, that's one that I do suggest as it is a very interesting coffee. And so my dishes are also going to be pretty pricey. It's a shot in the dark with these because I've had some that have been amazing. One of my favorite coffees this year was a wash process Panamanian blusher from them. This one right here is one I would be interested in trying. I think we had Dilgo earlier this year. I thought it was all right. And Alps, that's the end. This is an interesting coffee. This is one I would definitely try, this Jansen coffee. So you can see here definitely a bunch of interesting options if you want to go with something a little higher end. And a lot of the Savage coffees, they're one of the coffee roasters that see Savage the most. But then last, this margarita gesha, I actually wanted to try. It was in our coffee of the month rules relatively recently. So that's another wash processed coffee I would suggest. If you have a decent budget and you have a pretty good sense of taste when it comes to Panamanian geshas, I would definitely try some of these. Probably the Jansen. If you have a preference with which Panamanian producer you like, whether it be Jansen, whether it be Abu, whether it be Stevas, and you have some really good coffees from them. You have basically an option from all of the different producers. For me, the one that probably interests me the most is this Jansen because I've had some positive experiences with Jansen recently. I would also really like to try the Windy Ridge. That one's very expensive, but that's definitely an option. All right. Someone says, what do you think about Coffee Collective? Do you find them overhyped? We will probably know better at the end of our Cafe Box Advent calendar since we do have a couple of copies from them in that Advent calendar. Historically speaking, Takizi's amazing. And historically speaking, we've had some very good coffees from Coffee Collective. We don't feature them as much as we have in the past, but I've also had some misses. The Juan that they had a couple of years ago, I was really excited for it. It sounded like my type of coffee, but I was a little let down by it. So I feel like they do have some potential. There are some companies, but I think as of this moment, like a lot of coffee roasters, they might be, I don't want to say living on reputation, but they do have a very high reputation for the coffee roasters. So as of right now, my most recent experiences haven't been the best, but I've had really positive experiences with them. Nicholas is still new to Panamanian Gesha, so it's a little tricky in that sense. If that's the case, I would probably, for right now, stick to a lot of the copies that I had suggested. The Wash Peruvian copy. That Ethiopian Gesha is probably a good bet then. The Oma Natural Princess one, it's probably going to be a very good coffee. And then you can probably go with the Armadona. That Takamara I thought was going to be pretty interesting. That Tia Conejo is pretty cheap too. So those are also pretty good options for what we would suggest. And we have a couple more minutes here before I go. I'm going to take a very quick look at Victringia. I did promise Phil I was going to take a really quick look at them. I think that everything they have on their website right now is currently sold out, but they should be dropping some Pepe copies tomorrow, which should be something that I might be interested in picking up. I will need to make sure that I check out their website tomorrow. I've been curious about this one too. The Cinnadella, Florida macaroni cookies that they offered recently as well. I keep saying that they source really, really well. Like the changes that they've gone through as a business since they first started is very interesting to me. I mentioned the Letty Burritos earlier, so anybody that wants to have the closest similarities to original Manhattan Letty Burritos, this is probably going to be the best. I'm happy to help with the suggestions, Nicholas. When it comes to Coffea Circular, I feel like I know them probably a bit better than most, so I do usually give some pretty good suggestions on this. So just a couple more moments. I don't think that there's anyone else or anything else that I need to take a look at as of this moment. I think we have our eight, and yeah, we'll just create the polls and we will decide from there. Hopefully the audio issues will still did by the end. All right, and it looks like we have completed our time, so we do have our coffee of the month suggestions, recommendations. So I'm going to go ahead and end this room now. I wanted to thank everybody for participating and yeah, have a good rest of your day.